You're listening to Engage, the podcast for Delta pilots. On today's episode, please welcome back Alison Britton from the Pilot Family Matters Committee. Here's your host, Ryan Argenta.
Welcome back to another episode of Engage. Here again with Alison Britton. She's the chairwoman of the Pilot Family Matters Committee. Alison, it's been about a year since you've been on. Welcome back, first of all. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Ryan. I'm excited to be back. I know it has been a year. That went by really fast, but it has been a year.
Yeah, no kidding. So last time we spoke, we were doing the Mother's Day special, which is a little plug for that. You can go back to the episode for Mother's Day special. And we were talking about some of the shortcomings of parental leaves and family matters for Delta pilots and their families. And since then, we've gotten a new contract, which really has some major improvements and some gains for pilot families. So I want to kick it off with that, go into the details of what are the gains, what are the changes, and you can just rattle through them and we'll dive into the details as they come.
Absolutely. Coming from last year of all of the things that we talked about, and then now a year later, talking about these gains and improvements that we got in contract 2019, I'm super excited. So for birthing parents or mothers, 10 weeks of 100% pay, and then 14 days of paid parental leaves after they give birth. Another improvement that I was excited to see is they also have up to 12 months of bonding leave within 12 months of the birth. Now that was given in policy, but now that's been codified in our CBA. So I'm excited to see that actually codified. And with that, they've also put in their active insurance premiums throughout the duration of the entire maternity leave up to the 12 months post-birth. If you remember last time, we talked about pilots actually going out on maternity leave, taking up to a year off. Some of them went out without insurance because it was so expensive. So now that's been improved upon. We now have pilots maintain their active insurance premiums of what they pay as an active pilot now at up to 12 months after birth. So excited for that improvement as well.
Last time bonding leave was 30 days. And now we're at a year, and you retain your medical, your dental, your vision, the basic life insurance, disability benefits, your spouse or survival medical dental, all that stuff is intact where it wasn't previously. So that seems like a great way to codify that.
Yeah, that one was a big one. So I'm glad to see that one improve too. For our non-birthing parents, so if you have a spouse who's given birth, adoption, guardianship, or foster care, you get up to 14 days of paid parental leave. So that's an improvement in addition to the 12 months of unpaid bonding leave also is for all of our pilots, not for our pilots who are just giving birth. So that's also some great improvements for all of our pilots.
Can you cover what the difference is between maternity leave and bonding leave?
Yeah, maternity, when she's pregnant, going through kind of her sick time, her disability time, all of that portion until about 12 weeks after she gives birth. And then it transitions into unpaid bonding leave. So bonding leave is basically any time after the birth would be classified as bonding leave. Some people get confused between those two. There's a lot of confusion in between what's what. In regards to how they code it.
Yeah, so pre-birth, you go through, and I think you're going to walk us through this. You go through all your normal leaves, your sick leave, your vacation if you want to. And then once you have the baby, the new maternity leave is 10 weeks postpartum. And then anything after that is considered bonding leave, and that's up to a year.
That's correct. For our mothers, we did update our webpage, and there's a great new timeline picture visual to help in regards to pay and time off and how everything is affected. Basically, if I find out that I'm pregnant, within the usually first 10 weeks, you find out you're pregnant, you get that doctor's note, you fill out the forms, you send them in to the company that says that, you're pregnant, which kind of starts this transition of making sure that you get paid and you're eligible for all these benefits. So first, if you're done flying, you're like, hey, I don't think I can fly anymore. I'm kind of unfit. It's just not going well for me. Then you would start out using your sick time. You would exhaust that sick time. Once that is exhausted, then you go on the maternity paid benefit, which is the 100% for 10 weeks, which I had talked about. Usually that's when you're still pregnant. And then after that, you're going to transition into the temporary disability benefit or the long term disability, just depending where you're at in your timeline. And that pays 50% of your average earnings. You can obviously top that up with DPMA if you signed up for that when you were a new hire, which most of our pilots do, which then gives you that 25% top up. So basically, between the 100% up to 10 weeks, and then you start on your temporary disability, and then baby comes. And so at about 40 weeks, you deliver a baby, and then you stay on that temporary disability or that long term disability and DPMA until 10 weeks after you give birth. Then you transition, because you gave that paperwork into the company, you transition into the paid parental leave, and they just cut you a check for the 14 days of pay. So that puts you at 12 weeks after you have the baby when all of your pay stops at that point. Then you submit your forms for your bonding leave, and you can take up to a year from the date of birth. At that point in time, what we recommend from pilot family members is using any unused vacation to run with that bonding leave. So that kind of will extend out your pay a little bit more. And then also, if there's any like state paid funds, depending on where you're based and things like that, then you can use that. So that's kind of what a maternity timeline looks like for our pilots.
Okay, that's a lot. So there is time available for new parents. Adoption is included in that. I want to draw attention to first your website, the Pilot Family Matters website, which is flush with resources and information, because I've got to imagine that this can be an overwhelming or a stressful time for a new mother or parents where you go, oh my God, I'm pregnant, or yay, I'm pregnant. But where do I turn for those resources on day one?
We actually are working on enhancing our maternity mentoring program, and we've got some other mentoring programs we're working on. But I've got a wonderful lead that she's handling that, and we've got some wonderful volunteers that are mentors that are working on assisting and walking our pilots who are pregnant through this timeline. As you said, it is complicated. Understanding what forms, where to submit them, what your timeline looks like, when your sick leave exhausts at the end of May and then replenishes in June. So what does that look like in your time frame? What's your vacation? Where does it sit? How can I maximize this? So we've got mentors that'll be able to help you. So if you contact us through email, through the DART system, to get connected with a mentor for them to be able to walk you through this process is the best way. If you don't want a mentor, then we've got our webpage that talks about all of this information with links to the forms to fill out, to visuals with timelines, and things like that to help as well.
Okay, and so that's alpa.org/DAL, and look for the Pilot Family Matters Committee. And again, it's flush with information on there. Now, you can also, you mentioned submitting a DART, that's dart.alpa.org, and you can select Pilot Family Matters from there. So a lot of resources there. What about certain bases? If I'm based in a particular state or a particular base, we talk about state sick or state paid family leave.
Yeah, so state sick would help not necessarily our pilots who are pregnant, but potentially our non birthing pilots to be able to utilize state sick. If you're based in Minneapolis, Seattle, or Los Angeles, those are available to you. After, for both birthing and non birthing parents, if you're based in New York, Seattle, or Los Angeles, you may be eligible for the state paid family leave programs and funding. Obviously, there's nuances to each one of those, how much time you've been based there, how much money you've put into it to see if you're eligible for those.
Okay, so if you're listening to this and you're based in one of those cities, your little antenna should go up and say, you know what, I need to ask PFMC, I need to ask Allison a couple more questions.
Yeah, and those are available on our webpage as well. We've got specific FAQ section that says state sick and state paid family leave that goes into extensive details on eligibility, how much you get paid, etc.
Okay, great. And I will link the webpage to the podcast description, especially if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. I'll link a couple of the resources that you have easy access to. Otherwise, alpa.org/DAL. Allison, tell me about adoption benefits and adoption gains. And I want to give a quick shout out to our negotiating committee who negotiated and codified some pretty big gains in adoption. What are those gains?
Well, the codified adoption gains are kind of what we had already talked about, which is the unpaid bonding leave of 12 months, the 14 days paid parental leave. Those are things that were codified in our contract that were obviously big gains. Some additional things as far as benefits go from the company side of things are reimbursements for adoptions. It used to be up to $3,000 for adoption benefits to be used for expenses, and now it's up to $15,000 of adoption reimbursement per child, and it's a $30,000 lifetime maximum reimbursement that is given through a company called Progeny. So that's an increased benefit that we've seen for adoption. Also, to travel, it's a round trip ticket to travel to wherever you need to go for that adoption and to pick up that child during that process. Again, on our webpage, we've got a section that covers adoption. So it talks about leave of absences, times off, the progeny reimbursement information, and also of how to get your round trip ticket to travel and who to contact to be able to do that as well. So those are some great resources and improvements that we've seen both from our contract and through company benefits.
Yeah, very good. Those are some helpful resources. So as far as the new provisions in the contract, we covered quite a bit, but improved maternity leave up to 10 weeks, bonding leave went from 30 days to a year, plus you retain your company medical, dental, vision, et cetera. And then the paid parental leave. So that's for the non-birthing parent, 14 consecutive days. And that's paid at the greater of your trips missed or the value of vacation week. And there's some nuances here. And then we talked a bit about state sick and adoption.
And just to remember, the 14 days of paid parental leave is both for birthing and non-birthing parents, adoption, foster care, and things like that. So that goes hand in hand for everybody, that 14 days.
Okay, that's good to know. And this is all in section 13 of the PWA, right? So for reference, everybody can turn to section 13 in the PWA, and then third time's the charm, alpa.org/DAL and the Pilot Family Matters Committee. It's a great website. I was stuck on that. I went down the rabbit hole of the PFMC website. There's so many resources there that I never even knew we had. So thanks for the update. Thanks for helping pilot families and helping Delta pilots and their family members. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that we were able to work with the reps and work with the negotiating committee, and they were able to achieve these wonderful gains and provide us to be industry leading in both parental leave and maternity leave, which obviously is huge for attraction, retention of our pilots and making sure that we're taking care of our people here.
All right, let's take a break here. Alison Britton, Chairwoman of the Pilot Family Matters Committee. When we come back, let's talk about the wide array of resources and things that your committee does for Delta pilots. Stick with us. Back in 30 seconds.
Hey, mama, you taught me everything. Hey, mama, you are my everything.
Engage Podcast wants to hear from you. Send us your questions through the MEC DART system at dart.alpa.org. You have questions, you want answers. You're listening to Engage, the podcast for Delta pilots.
On the days that you feel blue, remember I see the same sky as you. Oh, it's you.
Hey, mama, you taught me everything.
We're back with Alison Britton, Chairwoman of the Pilot Family Matters Committee. And we talked contract improvements and gains to parental leaves and some of the changes, especially with adoption and other things. And now I want to bring focus to what does PFMC do for Delta pilots and their families, their spouses, their children. You know, I've spent a lot of time on your website which is alpa.org/DAL. And then you navigate to the committees list and find Pilot Family Matters Committee. And there's a huge list of things like you have such a range from adoption to caring for an ill family member, special needs children or dependents, death in the family, divorce, elder care, FMLA, LGBTQ family member, same-sex partnership, domestic partner. I mean, there's 22 of these things. And I'm kind of going down the list because these are such a wide range that can help Delta pilots. Even sexual assault of a family member, sexual harassment, state family leave, state sick, women issues. I mean, Allison, this is pretty diverse. Talk to me about your hot topics. What are the resources that are available? And really, I want to put this out there in that if you're listening to this and one of those 22 topics, or there's something going on in your life, again, that little antenna should go up and say, oh, there's people here that can help me. And it starts with PFMC. So over to you.
The biggest thing that I really wanted to emphasize is when you say Pilot Family Matters, people initially think, oh, new babies coming in. And I know we've talked about that extensively of those improvements, those contract benefits. But the other side of PFMC that people don't really think about is those 22 subject matters that you rattle off and mention. We're here to support you for any type of family and life event that occurs. And those come out in every single one of us. For all of our 15,000 plus pilots, one of these things is going to affect us. One of these 22 subject matters will affect us, whether it's caring for an elderly parent, whether it may be going through a divorce, whether it's caring for a child who's going through substance abuse or mental health. Those are the things that we try to help and support in guiding you in certain areas of how to get time off and resources available to you, other committees that might be available to you to support you as well. But yeah, it's vast. There's a lot of resources there. Obviously, our webpage covers a lot of the information. We've got a lot of it already there, but we're here as peer support as well.
Yeah. And I think that's important. The fact of peer-to-peer support in that you're all pilots. And so
Yeah.
when you reach out to Pilot Family Matters Committee or you pick up that phone, you can also call 1-800-USA-ALPA, which is the Delta MEC, and ask for Pilot Family Matters, and they will connect you with Allison or Dion or anyone else in that committee. So it doesn't always have to be an email or a dart or whatever, but there's a million ways to get a hold of these people. But sometimes it's difficult to ask for help. And so maybe it's a little easier knowing like, okay, I'm going to talk to a pilot who's been through a lot of this before and I have questions, or at least needed to be guided in the right direction, right?
Yeah, exactly. And just so people are aware, when they do call in on that 1-800 number, that gets sent to an email to me and our committee, such as Dan, as you mentioned. And then we'll give you a call back as soon as we can, as soon as we get those emails to be able to talk with you over the phone. As you were saying, sometimes it's just a matter of, hey, I just need to talk to somebody about this. And I may not have gone through some of these things, but
I would hope not,
yeah.
right? I don't want
Oh,
anybody.
yeah,
And
exactly. It's hard, but when you're willing to just listen and be empathetic to people's kind of situation and what they're going through, and to be able to provide them certain ways to try and navigate this, whether it's like getting you time off to try and just figure it out, get your head straight, providing resources to be able to help your family member. Some of the things that the company provides, we're familiar with that as far as the EAP and counseling sessions. Those aren't just for pilots, those are for family members. So if you've got a child who's suffering, or even a spouse that's suffering from mental health or substance abuse, the EAP is also for those individuals as well in those counseling sessions. So those resources are all available. We can point you in the right direction. You know, Ryan, you did mention some of the hot topics, the good parts of life of adding babies to our families and things like that. Other hot topics that come about from us is just caring for ill family members and elder care. Those have been hot topics. So understanding how to use FMLA in regards to that, getting time off. Divorce has been another one. We do have mentorship. We're working right now to enhance our mentorship program with divorce. We already do have some peer advocates and volunteers that are actively working to support it. So if you do call in right now, we've got people to help you and guide you through some things. And then we're just working on enhancing that to provide a better peer support program.
Yeah, that's really well said. And it sounds like it doesn't have to be this touchy feely thing. There's some real benefit there because pilots who find themselves in these situations are probably concerned about career, time off, missing a trip, and money. The resources are there to point you in the right direction to help you to get you that time off, to clear your schedule with or without pay, or at least to give you the resources to maintain your lifestyle while you're managing some of this. I want to plug PAN, the Pilot Assistance Network here. We've done a podcast with them. We've plugged it on several, and there seems to be some cross marketing going on here. But the Pilot Assistance Network, PAN, do you work with them at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So Pan and I, we go back and back. Jim Ortlieb is the chair for Pan. We give pilots to them. They give pilots to us based on our specialties and our needs. Pan is really good at peer support as well in certain areas. And PFMC helps navigate some administrative things like FMLA or state sick or something like that. So we kind of go hand in hand. We're working also in conjunction with PAN on the mental health task force that Flight Ops is doing and advocating right now. So myself and Pete Dawson are working with the company on that task force to try and improve this communication with the chief pilots, to have support for you, to be able to get you time off, to get you hopefully paid time off that you need to be able to take care of your family, your situation, kind of anything that you're going through. So PAN is a great resource. We work with them, they work with us, and we're doing some great things. Right now, we are working on doing base visits with Flight Ops in May. So I know PAN has volunteers attending those. PFMC has volunteers also attending those. I'll be in Detroit and the Minneapolis and the Salt Lake base visits to talk to people about the task force and kind of what we're doing in the collaboration with Flight Ops on that.
Yeah, between PFMC and PAN, especially, just wonderful resources that are out there. And it's important to understand that it's all confidential and it can even be anonymous if you'd like it to be. Don't go it alone. Know that you're not alone. There are people here that care about you and they care about the Delta pilot crew. We take care of each other, and PFMC, PAN are doing that for sure.
And that's what we do as a union, right? We support our pilots in unity to help them navigate these things. It's just life. And that's why I love what I do, because I understand that we're all going through something in every phase of our life. It just is different from older to younger to new hire to almost retired. We're going through something. So glad that we're here and happy to have this resource of PFMC to be able to help and use all of our other committees at ALPA to be able to navigate these life events.
Yeah, and that's a great point. If you're going through one of these scenarios or you just need to talk to somebody, I mean, really the last person I would think to call is the union, right? I'm going through a divorce, or I have a death in the family, or a special needs child. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to call the union. I
Yeah.
bet they can help me out. No, that's last on my list. But I want to change that. I want to turn that around because, yeah, once the dust is starting to settle a little bit, or maybe when the dust clouds up and you're like, man, I have no idea where to turn. I have no idea where to go. I don't want to talk to a chief pilot. I don't want to talk to anybody at Delta. Then you have these resources. And so I really want to change that culture. I want to at least give you the resource and the information to know that you have these phone of friends and these lifelines that are out there.
Yeah, definitely. And your reps too are also obviously on board for this. Otherwise, this committee wouldn't exist. And they're expanding it too. They passed a resolution at the board of directors at Alpha National for a family awareness working group to filter this type of information out to everybody. So it's something that's expanding, it's broadening. I chair that committee also at National to try and help filter all of this information out to all pilots out there. And so putting that recognition, like you said, you just don't think about that the union's going to help you with this. But yeah, they have their tentacles out on this. It's in the beginning working stages, and we're just trying to enhance here at Delta under PFMC too. We're working on enhancing these mentorship type programs to help pilots going through bigger life events.
That's awesome and amazing. Any last hacks on your end?
One thing I forgot to mention, we've been getting a ton of comments and requests from the parental side. Hey, I've got a baby, or I had a baby, or something. So we created an FAQ document, which is on our webpage, and it's also on the EF B under the ALPA file, and then under committee file is the parental FAQs to go through how to file for paid parental leave and questions like that. So I want to make sure that pilots understand that resource is out there too. You don't just need to come to us, like do that research, and then obviously we'll be able to help you and move forward if you have any further questions.
So FAQs on your website, alpa.org/DAL, PFMC, and or on your company iPad in AeroDocs, you go to the ALPA folder committees and you can find under Pilot Family Matters an FAQ on parental leaves and maternity leaves. So while you're flying around pregnant, you can read this, or if your spouse is pregnant, you can read about this without even having to pick up the phone.
Yeah, and just to clarify, Brian, this is just the parental leave. So non-birthing parents, I don't have an FAQ for maternity quite yet, but this one is for our non-birthing parents because obviously that's our biggest inquiry. I get those emails, phone calls, text messages all day, every day for people having new babies or they had babies last year. So that's obviously something that I want to highlight too is the contract says if you've had a child within the past 12 months, you're afforded 14 days of paid parental leave. So we do have some of our pilots who had a baby last year that are requesting to have that paid parental leave. And I also just want to highlight that we have had some pilots who married, both of them. One had given birth and the other one obviously hadn't. The way that the contract reads, if you're looking back, it's just for pilots who have not given birth for the 14 days. So some of our female pilots who had the baby last year, because it wasn't right after their medical portion, then they wouldn't be able to get the 14 days of paid parental leave.
Okay. And maybe worth bringing up. So the new contractual provisions that you talked about are all as of date of signing, correct? There's no delayed implementation for Section 13 or PFMC matters.
Yes, that's correct. So March 2nd is when all of this went about. And so some people get confused with, oh, well, I had a baby last year, so I can't use this. But the way that the language reads in the contract says if you've had a child within 12 months, then you're afforded the 14 days of paid parental leave for non-birthing, adoption, foster care, guardianship.
Okay. Great to know. Alison Britton, Chairwoman of the Pilot Family Matters Committee. Thank you so much. Thanks for everything you do and the support that you give us. And since we're close enough, I'll wish you and all Delta mothers and fathers a happy Mother's Day and a happy early Father's Day from the Engage podcast.
Thanks, Ryan. I really appreciate it. It's always fun.
This has been Engage, the podcast from Delta Pilots. Thanks for listening. My name is Ryan Argenta. Stay safe and keep the rubber on the road.
You're listening to Engage, the podcast for Delta pilots. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast platform, and receive notifications when a new episode is available.